Great. People are starting to come in. Hello. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give just a few minutes while people sign in. Grab your water, grab a snack, grab your notebook. I'm just going to vamp for one more minute while we let everybody get signed in. Thank you for being here today. Okay, numbers are looking pretty good, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Perfect. Well, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Casey Thomas. I am the Content and PR Specialist here at AudienceView. And today I have the distinct pleasure to be joined by Jonathan Fry. Jonathan is a lecturer in business management at the Business School at, please forgive my Welsh pronunciation attempt, Aberystwyth University in Wales, and is also undertaking PhD research investigating entertainment and sports event consumer behavior regarding purchasing VIP and hospitality tickets, which is, of course, our topic today. As both consumers and purveyors in the live events industry, we are witnessing a rise in the premiumization of live events. So today we'll discuss Jonathan's research, how we can learn from what others are doing, what's working, what's not really working, and as always, we encourage active participation in that Q&A box. So Jonathan's given me permission to interrupt him throughout the presentation to answer questions, so please don't be shy to utilize that function. And without further ado, I will pass this over to Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Casey. There's a message saying I can't share my video.
Oh.
Because the host has stopped it. Is it possible for you to have a look at the setting? Well, I'll carry on just going through the slides perhaps in the meantime. Can you go to the next slide, please, Casey?
Should be able to now. And yes.
Right, there we go.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
There you are.
Okay. Well, the first couple of slides I have is to provide some introduction to the research that I'm undertaking at Aberystwyth University. Great pronunciation at the start, by the way. You nailed it. VIP and hospitality. Critical enhancement of a purchase journey map and establishing willingness to pay. So the main output from the research really is to kind of improve the online purchase journey map for the purchase of event tickets. And there are 4 stages that I've undertaken to the data collection. And the ones in bold, which are going to be the focus of the presentation today. So the first stage was to undertake a document analysis of VIP and hospitality packages. So in 2019-2020, I looked at 200 sports and 200 entertainment packages. And one thing to note with this research as well, it's from a UK perspective. And then I undertaken semi-structured interviews with the events industry, so looking at organizer, venue manager, and ticket provider perspectives. The third stage then is also going to be a focus of today's presentation. So an online survey of event consumers, so including both general public and corporate purchasers. And then the fourth and final stage was an online conjoint survey and focus group sessions with attendees of 2 event case studies in Cardiff, Wales and the UK during summer 2023. Next slide, please. And I'm sure most of you are aware of kind of VIP and hospitality packages, but I thought it might be useful to have some key points regarding VIP packages. So the first point on this slide relates to live music VIP experiences and the fact that it's expanded significantly in recent years, and due to millennials placing increased value on experiences rather than goods. Organisers are positioned effectively to provide them. And Ticketmaster, so their definition of a VIP package is when artists offer exclusive packages for an unforgettable concert experience. And it's important to bear in mind as well, the additional spend compared with general admission or face value tickets is likely to heighten expectations. And according to Getz, the VIP experience cannot possibly be the same as other guests or customers. And a website which is part of Live Nation, they've got a specific website with their VIP offering. It's called VIP Nation. And they position their packages with phrasing that evoke prestige. So phrasing such as the best seats in the house and exclusive. They also suggest that it appeals to both general public and corporate customers, as it mentions on the website. These sorts of offerings could be a gift for friends, family, clients, or colleagues. Next slide, please. So this slide here relates to an AudienceView report. I don't know, Casey, if you want to come in here and provide a bit more context to this research, please.
Right, sure. So hopefully this image looks a little familiar to people on this, but this is a shot from our winter 2024 survey that we partner with our TheaterMania subscribers, which is of course very North America focused. So we're looking at sort of a difference in the trends across the pond, but seeing here, gauging interest in what people would purchase along with their event tickets. Premium seating and meet and greets being really high up there. Some exclusive merchandise, a little less popular, the venue tours, valet parking, food and beverage served right to your seat if anyone has experienced maybe movie theaters are doing that. So seeing only about a third of people said that they wouldn't purchase any of the above. So certainly there are ways there to really boost that bottom line. And I think now, Jonathan, you're going to go into some of those areas from your research.
Yes. Yeah, and just a quick point as well about the kind of VIP seating element. So the research that I undertaken as well, the online survey stage, that came out on top as well as kind of the main priority is to kind of get that best seat in the house sort of experience as well. So if you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as Casey said, I'm going to pick out some of those elements that you saw on that previous graphic, the previous figure. So the first thing I thought would be useful to do is a distinction between seated versus standing tickets when I undertaken the document analysis. So 82% of the entertainment packages analysed included seated tickets and 18% were standing. And to provide a pricing comparison of seated and standing tickets, the average general admission of entertainment standing tickets was £99.85 and VIP average price of £280.20. So what you'll notice on these slides as well, I've included the approximate figure in dollars for you as well. So when you compare the standing price with the seated tickets, so the seated tickets had a lower average of £90 and VIP average of £254, which could be due to standing tickets often allowing closer proximity to the stage. So that's perhaps one of the main main driving factors of things like early entry tickets and that sort of things to go with to get as close as possible to the stage. And what you'll notice on some of the slides as well, in red text, I've included specific examples. So there were examples where stating the exact seats available could have been made clearer to the consumer. So one organizer described their package as package A being rows 1 to 3 and package B then being rows 1 to 6. And this could be quite confusing to consumers, perhaps. It does suggest that package B would likely be rows 3 to 6, depending on the demand for package A. But in terms of when you look at if there were different prices for those two packages, the consumer might be unsure exactly which row their seat would end up being when they purchase the ticket. Next slide, please. So the next component is the meet and greet element. So when I undertaken the document analysis, I combined meet and greet and Q&A together. And these were more common with sports packages, so 52%, when compared with entertainment packages, which only 20% of the ones I analysed included a meet and greet. And this could be partly due to the limited time and logistics involved with entertainment events. So if you think about a particular performer, they might not be aware of the availability for a meet and greet and that sort of thing. So the next point there says, interestingly, the entertainment events, including this component, had an average VIP price of £264, and the average sports event price was significantly higher at £735. And an interesting example that I've included in the third stage, and on top of that, an opportunity to join players on the bench for the whole match. So I think a lot of these packages, there was another example that I saw as well, like a Q&A session with a performer in their dressing room. So I think I think organisers are looking at different ways of making the meet. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi is giving us a little trouble.
Right,
okay. Next slide. There we go.
Okay, great, thank you. So merchandise then, so this was included in 70% of entertainment packages, demonstrate the importance of this component within VIP packages. And what was quite interesting in terms of the way this element was phrased in some of the packages, for example, VIP Nation, on the second bullet point there, they phrased it as merchandise item designed exclusively for package purchases. So there's a bit of mystery, a bit of ambiguity in terms of exactly what the consumers get as part of the VIP package. And the interview stage of the research, some of the organisers said this is usually due to the fact that when promoters and organisers start to advertise the events, they haven't actually signed off, and the artist hasn't signed off the specific merchandise item at that stage. So that's why they keep it quite open-ended. But on the flip side of that, when you think about a consumer perspective, if they end up just having a key ring, a keychain, for example, they might be really disappointed with what that piece of merchandise is. But the third bullet point there says, there are examples from other websites where they specify the exact item. So they say, right, it's a chance to get a limited edition numbered art print as part of the package. So the phrase limited edition is quite effective as well, because it makes consumers think maybe they're going to have something that might be worth quite a lot of money in the future, perhaps, if there's only a certain amount produced. Next slide, please. So backstage tour is the next component, and only 7% of sports packages and 3% of entertainment packages and an interesting example was the open golf tournament, which included access to a range of areas with a description of access to restricted behind-the-scenes areas, including NBC studios, media centre, and other VIP experiences. So the description there makes you think you get quite a lot of exclusivity with a backstage tour. And I've been thinking about, you know, possible reasons for this component to be quite low on the list. And the reason I think could be for this is due to the fact that a lot of venues, you know, whether it's a stadium, whether it's a multi-purpose arena, they usually offer their own backstage tours, and perhaps in addition to that, you know, consumers can organize a backstage tour whenever they want, but also in terms of the logistics, perhaps on the day of a large-scale event at an arena, there might be additional restrictions with a backstage tour, and logistically it might be a bit of a headache for organisers to include that package component.
That makes sense.
Next slide, please. Okay, so the next component is parking. So this was more common within the sports packages, so the 38.5% of the ones that I analysed, when compared with entertainment packages, which was only 5%. And this could potentially be due to the fact that a lot of the pre and post-match access to sports events is required for a longer time than for entertainment events. So, for example, with a rugby union or soccer, football match, I think you before the kickoff, for a couple of hours after as well. There was a message that popped up there about my internet connection. Is it okay on your side of things?
You're freezing for me sometimes, but I wasn't sure if that was my issue or not.
Right.
Could someone
Okay.
pop in the Q&A and let us know if you're getting...
Okay, yeah, if you need me to repeat anything, just let me know, okay?
All right, Wendy does say freezing on and off, so
Okay,
thank you, Wendy.
right. Yeah, if there's any question or anything you want me to go over again, feel free to have them in the chat. So yeah, when you think about the longer duration of the sports events and the hospitality component, the parking would be a significant benefit. But the descriptions of this component varied. So, for example, I mentioned when I say football on these slides, I'm referring to soccer, okay, in the UK. So football team saying on request, so there might be an additional fee perhaps with that. Then a national football team stating 3 spaces for a package with a box up to 15 guests. And then the open golf tournament said 1 per 4 guests and 1 per 2 guests for different packages that they offered. So yeah, there's quite a bit of a difference there in terms of the way they communicate that messaging in terms of exact component, the parking component. And one thing that I thought would be worth highlighting from the interview stage of the research was that one of the interviewees that organised the kind of VIP package for a world tour for a major artist said that parking is a thing that we include in the VIP package in the US shows, but it's not included in the UK and European market. So I think, as Casey indicated at the start, you know, I think that is something that's quite interesting in terms of maybe the differences between the UK and European market and the US market, perhaps. Next slide, please. So food is the next component. I've decided to split food and drink separately, so there's another slide with drink coming up. So food was included in 40.5% of entertainment packages, but it is argued that at least a sample menu should be available prior to purchase. This is an example of good practice. I noticed on some of the website they did include a sample menu for consumers to be able to see before purchasing a package. And the wording for packages varied greatly. So some said 2-course informal, some said premium dining experience, buffet, light bites, nibbles, canapes, snacks, appetizers. There was one specific example for a sporting event. It was a boxing match. And all they said for the VIP package was complimentary food and drinks. So there's no indication at all there of exactly what the customer is getting. But there were some West End theatre shows that specified the exact food served during the interval. So things like, they said popcorn, ice cream and handmade chocolate. So you know exactly what you're getting for that additional VIP or hospitality upgrade. And I think one of the important distinctions to be made with the food component is whether it's formal or informal dining. Again, it's about the messaging when there's a message, I think, in the chat. Is there, Casey?
That's me. I thought I might leave half points from the person.
Okay.
Carry on.
So yeah, it's important when forming consumer expectations in terms of the quality of the food and drink. Other good practice includes timings. So there was one example that I noticed that said the 4-course menu was a pre-event and then the gourmet menu post-event. So that was quite effective, again, to kind of form those consumer expectations.
I did think of a question now that you're saying that. In your research, did you see anything that indicated when venues were pairing with other maybe local purveyors or, you know, I think it would make a big difference to me as a consumer if it was a 4-course menu prepared in the little kitchen next to the bar maybe, or if it's a 4-course menu prepared by such and such restaurant that's maybe nearby or a catering company that's in the area.
I think most of the packages tend to be at the venue. So the venue would arrange the dining. Mm-hmm. But there are some packages, such as when I analysed a rugby union event, where the hospitality package at an external provider, so at a hotel. So obviously then the kind of food and drink would be managed externally then. Mm-hmm. So I think there might be, you know, perception, maybe there's higher quality at the actual venue perhaps than external providers.
Sure.
But again, I think a lot of it's down to the description of exactly what the consumer is getting and that they know exactly what they're getting. Does that answer your question?
Even if your venue can't cook within your venue, there are ways to do it. I went to a jazz, it was a tiny jazz club, but the ticker that offered dinner in the show, they partnered with the upstairs cafe. So like we ate dinner and then we went down. So that's an option too.
Yes. And in terms of the consumer perspective, one of the surveys that I did, a lot of the consumers said there's so much choice, you know, in terms of restaurants that they prefer to arrange their own food and drink, perhaps rather than paying for an upgrade. So in terms of budget as well, when they look at the pricing perhaps of the VIP or hospitality upgrade, right. So some of them just think, oh, it's a lot cheaper for me to have, you know, arrange my own food and drink before the event.
Speaking of drink.
So This was a common package component. So this was present within 93.5% of sports packages and 39% of entertainment packages. Some packages included specific drinks such as champagne, whereas others provided further details. For example, they specified that the consumer only gets one glass, whilst others highlighted exclusions such as champagne and cocktails. And the details of the exact offering was more prominent within the sports packages. So they included an example description of champagne, beer, wines and spirits, so that the consumer knows exactly what the offering is there. Okay, next slide, please. So that draws the section regarding the document analysis to an end. And the next stage now I'm going to focus on is the online survey. So specifically entertainment event consumers. So this is based on a survey response rate of 176. I did a separate survey for sports events. And this first slide here provides an overview of the type of purchaser. So you can see the vast majority, 93.8%, class themselves as general public purchasers, and only 6.3% as corporate purchasers. So ideally, I would have liked to have more corporate respondents, but at the end of the day, you just have to work with the responses that you get. And then the pie chart then provides information regarding the type of familiarization and engagement the consumers have had previously with these types of offerings. So the vast majority there, 53.4%, you can see the grey colour said no, they haven't had, purchased or received a hospitality or VIP ticket before. But what was quite surprising was the fact that the next highest selected option was the yellow option, 27.3%. I have received a complimentary hospitality ticket. So yeah, the distinction between those that had purchased and received, I was expecting more of the corporate responders. If I had a higher response, that they would say, right, I've received a complimentary hospitality, I received a complimentary VIP ticket. I was expecting the general public then to have actually purchased them. So that was quite an interesting finding. I'm conscious of time, Casey, so next slide, please. So then respondents were asked to select which package out of the 7 were most appealing to them. And these were described as the hot ticket, which was selected by 33%. And response also had a none of these answer option, which was the second most selected option at 19.3%. So this specific question included real package examples that I found during the document analysis stage, and they were anonymized, just the main reason to make for the consumers to be able to put themselves in a scenario if they were to book a ticket to see their favorite performer, rather than seeing a name of a performer that they weren't a fan of perhaps and making a judgment like that. But the actual packages are based on Ozzy Osbourne, Madonna, Aerosmith, and a Hella Mega Tour, which included Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy. So I'll show you the exact packages now and descriptions and some of the comments. So next slide, please. So the first package was, as I said, the one that the respondents showed most preference to, they preferred the most. So it was described as a hot ticket, priced at £197.50. So the description then says top price seated ticket to see performer, and the face value then is £67.50. And they also get a collectible VIP gift item, official hot ticket laminate, commemorative concert ticket, and on-site event staff. And some of the comments there include, my priority would be a seated ticket, which option A provides. I find the additional stuff extravagantly overpriced, would expect the last 3 items in any case. So again, when you think about consumer expectations and the value placed on the different package components, there's a suggestion there that not a lot of value is placed on the final 3 items on the bullet points there. And yeah, I'm not going to read through all of the comments, but yeah, apologies as well that these slides are quite text heavy, but I thought it's important to try and fit in the actual package description and the comments as well. But the final comment at the bottom of the slide there is from a corporate respondent perspective. And what they said was, we are usually looking for enhanced experiences that most guests wouldn't usually be able to arrange for themselves. Although it's a good seat, this feels like something a lot of people would already have done, either as part of another corporate event or personally for a special occasion. So there's a suggestion there that they might be looking for something that's a bit more exclusive, a bit more unique in terms of an experience. Next slide, please. And package B was the early entry package. So the same price, £197.50, but this time it was a standing ticket and same face value as well, £67.50. And the additional benefit with this package is the early entry, well, as you'd imagine from the title of the package, early entry to the venue before standard ticket holders. And as I mentioned earlier, the main benefit with that obviously is increased likelihood you'll get to the front row as close as possible to the stage. But some of the comments, so someone just said, I don't do standing. And someone said this
not everybody's got the same definition of premium, I suppose. You know, Taylor Swift, those people want to be right in front of the stage.
Yes, yeah. And this is poor value, paying an extra £100 to gain early access. Also, the laminate staff on site is not a benefit, it's an expectation. Next slide, please. Yeah. So then the sound check package was £290.50. So again, this was a standing ticket with a face value of £67.50. And identical apart from the access to the exclusive soundcheck package, soundcheck experience. So, and then the comments, someone just said, doesn't seem interesting as an experience. And the final comment there says, would love soundcheck experience to be more descriptive versus listing the other things that are not as valuable as the actual experience. So perhaps, you know, details such as, you know, how long the soundcheck experience lasts for in terms of duration. Yeah.
Exclusive access to a closer restroom would get me to pay for this.
So perhaps in terms of soundcheck, maybe again, in terms of being a bit more descriptive would help some consumers know exactly what they're getting and avoid maybe disappointment if the experience doesn't meet their expectations. Next slide, please. Then package D is a meet and greet package. So £637.50. And again, a standing ticket with a face value of £67.50. So you get a personal photo opportunity with the performer and the other benefits as well. And some of the comments here. So D sounds like it's making most of the whole event, but the price is horrendous, but I'm cheap and would never buy VIP. So some of the other comments, so someone just said pointless. This seems best value combo of price, access to the artisan view and seat. I'd feel offended having to pay for a photo with a performer. So I think also with this example and the sound check experience, one of the things that Casey mentioned, perceptions, there are different perceptions regarding seating and standing tickets. So perhaps providing that flexibility, perhaps if someone wanted a meet and greet package but wanted a seated ticket instead, perhaps organisers could consider providing some flexibility with the type of ticket that they offer for the actual event.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone do this, but I wonder if it, if there was like a set price for the VIP package and then it was sort of a menu of what, maybe like pick 4 of these items that your ticket will then include. So if you wanted seating versus standing or a meet and greet or a photo, I'm gonna
Yes.
keep an eye out for that. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the recommendations that I'm thinking of incorporating into that final purchase journey map is kind of a customizable package. So consumers can get exactly what they want as part of the package, but some of the interviewees suggested it might be difficult to implement in practice with lots of different combinations that they have to manage and implement.
Mm-hmm.
But and also in terms of the transparency with the pricing as well. So I'd imagine with having each individual component as an add-on, you'd have to see, right, how much is the personal photo opportunity? Is it £300? That sort of detail would probably be required as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, in terms of the consumer perspective, some packages are quite rare to see, but it might be useful for purchasers to see exactly how many other meet and greet packages are offered. So if it's only 50 people, again, that level of exclusivity, or if it's 300 people, it also provides, in terms of how much time the consumer is going to spend actually meeting the performer as well. So again, if it's only 50 people, or if there's going to be some differences there perhaps in terms of the number of packages that are actually offered as well.
Right.
Next slide, please. So this one was the ultimate meet and greet. So this was priced at £1,209.60. And it was slightly different. So this was a seated ticket in the first 3 rows, or 1 general admission ticket. And I think that description there depends on the venue. So whether I think it was whether it was a stadium show or whether it was an arena show. But the face value was different for this particular package. It was £142. So get a meet and greet with a performer, personal photo opportunity, limited edition tour poster autographed by them, on stage photo opportunity with iconic microphones and band instruments, and exclusive VIP merchandise including passport holder and luggage tag set, postcard set and travel canvas bag, and a commemorative VIP laminate. So then the comments then, this one costs more to have lots of stuff I don't really want. If I want a canvas bag, I'll go to the shops and buy one, which meets my needs. Again, it feels wrong for me to have to pay for a photo with performers. Meet and greet is the main draw for this package, as it adds that exclusive, unique, special element of the package. Would really like some F&B, so food and beverage included though. So again, as I mentioned on the previous slide there, perhaps that particular response there was from one of the corporate respondents. So that kind of being able to customize the package would be quite effective there. Next slide, please. So package F then is the merch package. So merchandise, £199, but it doesn't mention what the face value ticket is. And then what's actually included. So a VIP ticket that includes access to the VIP garden in a secluded area away from the main event arena. Official tour litho, commemorative ticket, water bottle, bottle opener, drawstring bag. So you know exactly what the merchandise you're getting as part of the package. VIP entrance to the venue where available. So again, this probably depends on the type of venue. Early entry to the on-site VIP host. And there's an asterisk there, like a caveat with the VIP garden, which says, please note, the VIP garden does not have views of the main stage. So some of the comments there would like more clarity on the VIP area. So maybe exactly a better description of what exactly that includes. So perhaps maybe a photo or mock-up would help with that particular aspect, perhaps. Merch seems generic and unappealing.
I wonder if with this one,
Yeah,
the way that they marketed the garden rather than the VIP garden. I don't know. I went to just the minor leagues, went to a baseball game. We weren't that interested in the game, but there was a separate section where where there was more space to, stand around and play cornhole and drink and eat hot dogs. And we didn't have a great view of the game itself, but it did provide an area to just it kind of catered to that person who was like, okay, maybe a baseball game sounds fun, but it's not like the reason to go. I think it feels like this one would have had it could have had some traction if they marketed instead as like, this is the garden where you can, people have paid to get into this, and this is where you can like meet other diehard fans and compare experiences and maybe swap information and be very depending on the group for the show or the artist. If it was, swap, how people swap like pins from Disney World or something, like maybe they have something that people could do and create that community maybe.
Yeah. That just reminded me actually of something that was quite interesting from the interview stage. So some of the organisers said they tend not to use the term VIP for their packages. So they tend to use the term hospitality area. So if it's like a tent or something like that, because some of them thought if you promote it as a VIP package, then the consumer expectations are even higher than just hospitality. But perhaps if it's just an hospitality package, then the expectations aren't as high possibly. But I think the main message on this slide really is in terms of the low value placed on the merchandise items. So there's a quote there saying it's just a load of junk stuff, and another quote there, merch items just end up in a drawer, so don't hold value to me. So although a lot of merchandise, as I mentioned earlier, it's quite common to include in these types of packages, that the actual maybe value placed by some of the consumers isn't very high for those components. But as I said, if it's something maybe limited edition or that sort of thing, that might change potentially. So next slide, please. So then the optimum package was £1,246.50. So top price seated ticket with a significantly higher face value ticket of £480. Exclusive backstage tour led by your VIP host. Group photo opportunity on the stage where the performer will be performing a few hours later. 2.5 hour pre-show party with complimentary sit-down dinner and drinks. Post-show party with cash bar and DJ, limited edition gift item, souvenir tour laminate and lanyard, photo opportunity at the VIP red carpet entrance to commemorate your evening, pre-show tour merchandise shopping opportunity, and on-site event staff and merchandise collection point. So you can see from the comments there, a lot of negative comments about the actual price of the package, but then the corporate respondent, the final bullet point, final quote, sorry, there says, great F&B offering, would be perfect if there was a meet and greet photo opportunity as well. So again, a suggestion that perhaps the packages don't quite meet the needs of the corporate respondent, but perhaps the customizability and add-ons and stuff, would be an effective way to ensure that the packages do meet the needs of each individual purchaser. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's the end of the presentation. I've included my email address on this final slide. So thank you very much. And as we say in Wales, diolch yn fawr. Any questions?
Well, I think it's funny. We mentioned this earlier. I don't know if we in this or just in our own conversation, the huge difference in what's considered a totally acceptable price to spend on an entertainment, on a ticket in the US and North America versus the UK. I think there's a lot more price sensitivity, it seems. Although I live in New York, so everybody's paying top dollar for everything.
Yes, I haven't actually conducted specific research looking into the differences between, US and the UK prices, but I saw on Twitter the other day, for example, a lot of comments about the prices being significantly higher in the US when compared with the European and UK markets, ticketing markets. Yeah, and I don't know whether it's, I'm not sure what the reason behind that is, to be honest. I think one of the examples that I mentioned earlier, the higher price, the final example was £480, but because the performer used smaller venues than they usually did, so more kind of intimate and exclusive in terms of capacity. But apart from that, I can't really think of a particular reason, because I think in the US you've got lots of large venues and like large stadiums and Madison Square Gardens.
I was just looking at tickets at the Garden. J-Lo's doing some and those seats standing near the stage, those tickets are going upwards of $3,000 right now.
I think I read that J-Lo, I think she had to cancel a few tour dates because there was some venues that didn't sell as well as others. So yeah, I think that's quite interesting in terms of, when you think about Live Nation or whichever company is the promoter of a major tour, how they decide which venues to select. And I think usually what happens, they only announce a limited number of dates to start with, but you can usually see gaps in the tour dates. And then once they see there's lots of demand, they add additional tour dates then.
Right.
And I think the venue map is quite interesting in terms of the purchase experience. So I think usually on Ticketmaster, you can see where, I think they have like a star icon on some of the VIP packages. So if you can select a specific seat, but yeah, the perceptions of the best seat in the house is going to be different from one person to the next.
Right.
So yeah, I think
like you said, being really specific and upfront as much as possible, depending on what it is. When Here Lies Love was on Broadway, my friend got some tickets, and I don't think it was probably specified in the ticket. She just didn't tell me, but where we were sitting was at times an obstructed view, but then because of where our seats were, there was a dedicated little mini bar area that was near our seats, so we didn't have to stand in line. And then also at the end of the show, they brought out the people sitting in our section out onto it wasn't up on the stage. They had kind of rearranged the whole theater, but that was a really neat experience to be able to be up there with the performers. And I think thinking about this entire topic, I would say that it seems like the biggest takeaway is just whatever can be the most unique, memorable experience in addition to whatever the main event is. Some people will pay more to experience that.
Yeah. And one of the examples that we mentioned the other day was Taylor Swift in the UK. So there's one example of an article. She was, well, yeah, this summer is when she's performing in the UK. But when the tickets went on sale, someone purchased a VIP package, and the phrasing was kind of best seat in the house or premium ticket. And the purchaser was really disappointed. It was a side view of the stage. So they felt that they kind of wasted their money, and it was perhaps a restricted view ticket. But yeah, I think that's a very good point in terms of restricted view tickets as well. That I think usually there's like a notification, isn't there, saying this is a restricted view ticket before proceeding with a purchase. But certainly if you're paying a VIP price, you wouldn't expect to have like a limited view ticket. Yeah. Are there any questions at all in the chat?
I haven't
on
seen
the
any
thing
come
so
in.
far?
We still have some people that are just listening to our conversation, but this is a great opportunity if anyone has anything to share or ask about. I'll only vamp a little bit longer since we are almost at time, but
one of the other things I mentioned before, wasn't it, Casey, that we have a new venue opening in Manchester called the Co-op Live. I think it's actually US owners, Oakview Group, I think it's called, who actually own the venue. And when it finally opens, it's been delayed for a couple of weeks now, but hopefully when it opens, it will be the largest indoor arena in the UK. So at the moment, the O2 Arena in London is the largest venue, but this venue in Manchester will have a capacity of 23,000 and a half. And one of the things I noticed with their kind of promotion of the premium packages that they offer, they include like annual memberships. So they say this annual membership is limited to 100 packages, 100 packages, and then there's like a backstage club they have, which again they specify the limited capacity.
We did get a question. What did you say? Who did you say was the partner mentioned for the co-op?
Oakview Group, I think. I'll double check now. Yeah, it says Co-op Live is part of the Oakview Group, OVG, the largest sports and entertainment developer in the world.
Oh, they're the concessions partner at Alameda County Fairgrounds. Thanks, Kayla. Well, that'll be exciting. When is that set to open?
Well, it was supposed to open last week, but it's been delayed. So I think actually their first event is tomorrow, I think. Hopefully. I'll have a look now. I think it's Olivia Rodrigo who's performing there.
Oh, wow.
And I noticed that Billie Eilish has announced a tour. The kind of pre-sale went today.
Wow. Keep an eye on that. Well, thank you again for coming and sharing your research and giving us another perspective on this topic that I'm sure we'll continue to explore. Yes, another thank you in the comments, and Jonathan's email is up there, and please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Casey.
For now. Sign us off.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Okay.
Bye.